Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We are on page 23, chapter 3, Man in the Mirror, Tuesday, 7:02 a.m. When Alex woke up the next morning, he was 11. Simple as that. He rolled out of bed, hustled down the hall to the bathroom. He was in a hurry, not only because he had to go to the bathroom like a racehorse, but also because he was dying to get to the mirror and see if he looked any older. Alex gazed at his reflection for a very long time. Yep, definitely older. Probably start shaving soon, he thought. Like that. Alex remembered what he'd said to his father last night. He replayed it in his head, trying to convince himself that he'd said it so quietly, under his breath, that maybe his dad hadn't heard. He shook it off, trying to get the good feeling back. In the bright light of a new day, his mom and dad's resistance to getting a dog made perfect sense. It had to be a trick to throw him off the scent. Of course, they would pretend he wasn't getting a dog. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a surprise. Back in his room, Alex quickly tugged on pants and a shirt. Suddenly anxious to get out there, he moved so fast that he yanked the shirt on backwards, the tag in front, and had to pull his arms in and twist it around to get it on straight. He jammed on his heelys and sped down the hall, sorry, pulling up cautiously outside the kitchen. After last night's blow up, he had his radar on, checking for signs. Then he noticed the smell of pancakes, his favorite. Mom cooked his favorite dinner last night and his favorite breakfast today. Would she really do that if she were trying to punish him or deny him one more birthday wish? Alex breezed into the kitchen on his heelys, arms out wide like airplane wings. He spun to a stop, flopped in his chair, and guzzled his OJ, draining the glass in 3 gulps. His mom stood at the sink washing dishes, half watching the morning show on the tiny TV propped on the counter. His father's chair was pushed in, his plate gone. Where's Dad? He asked, banging the empty juice glass down. Good morning to you too, she answered. There was a smile in her voice, a good sign. He grinned. Morning, Mom. Where's Dad? He had the early run today. Alex sank a little. He'd been hoping to get a read on his dad this morning. Hey, how'd I do? His mom stood beside him holding a huge chocolate cake on a tray. Chocolate fudge icing covered the entire cake with a ribbon of chocolate icing around the edge. Tower to a dog. Happy birthday was written in green on top. There was even an icing airplane flying across the cake. Whoa, said Alex. She smiled and kissed him on the head. Happy birthday, sweetie. Mom, don't call me sweetie, he laughed. But he really didn't, let me try that again. But he didn't really mind. I'm your mother, so I get to call you whatever I want, sweetie. He reached out with his finger to swipe at the icing, but she was too quick. Aha, this is for tonight. She pointed to a bakery full of... I am so sorry. This is for tonight. She pointed to a bakery box full of cupcakes. One for everybody in his homeroom. Those are for school. Awesome. Nunu stumbled into the kitchen, sleepy-eyed, and flopped in her chair. As she drank her orange juice, she noticed the cake. Happy birthday, Alex, she mumbled, her voice echoing inside her juice glass. Alex's mom slid a plate of steaming hot pancakes in front of him. As he drowned them in butter and syrup, he decided that last night had just been a hitch. His parents were trying to surprise him. He'd pushed too hard, and he'd somehow gotten into a stupid fight with his dad. But now, everything seemed to be okay. The greatest birthday ever was back on track. Alex, you're going to miss the school bus. His mom gave the school bus driver an apologetic wave. The driver, a sour-faced woman named Mary Jo, responded by honking again. Alex finally appeared at the door, hoisting his enormous backpack on with a grunt. His mom handed him the bakery box full of cupcakes. Now look, no eating these on the bus. These are for your party and homeroom at lunch. Got it? Of course, Mom, he answered with excessive politeness. I would never do something so immature. Okay, I will take responsibility for these cupcakes. Now that I'm 11, I can handle that kind of responsibility. If there's one thing I am, it's responsible. Don't go there, Alex. I'm even responsible enough to take care of a dog. You're definitely persistent. That's like responsible, right? You'll miss the bus. She's taken this game pretty far, he thought to himself. Then he noticed she wasn't looking at him. She was avoiding eye contact, and nothing about her expression looked like she was playing a game. All of his confidence evaporated. They weren't playing games. They weren't stringing him along, holding off a big surprise. They really weren't going to get him a dog. Chapter 4. You Smell Like a Monkey. 8:05 a.m. So what do you want for your birthday? Asked Quan. Fly jets? Get a dog? Answered two voices in unison. Alex looked over as Doug said the words along with him. Same as always, Doug busted him. You're totally bogus. Same as always, Alex laughed. Alex was twisted around in his school bus seat, talking to his two best friends in the row behind him. Quan was tall and skinny with big ears that stuck out like handles from a smallish head, which sat atop a neck like a giraffe's. His straight black hair was cut short, so it stood up on top. It stood up on top in a tuft of bristles, adding to the impression he ate his meals out of a basket or on a pole. Doug got the triple whammy: glasses, braces, pimples. Anyway, kids can't fly jets, said Quan. Says who? Alex shot back. Says the whole world. I can land an FA-18 Hornet on the back of an aircraft carrier in 30-foot seas, Quan and Doug said in unison. They'd heard it 1,000 times. Newsflash, it's a video game, said Doug. Newsflash, you're still bogus, Alex replied. Douglas, turn around. Doug and Alex both snapped their heads up. Doug, because his full name was Douglas, which nobody called him except when he was in trouble, and Alex, because that was his last name. Mary Jo, the world's angriest bus driver, glared at Alex in the rearview mirror. Doug let out a sigh of relief when he realized she wasn't talking to him. Alex, Douglas, turn around and sit down, she repeated. Alex felt his ears go red as he sat down and faced forward. All the other kids on the bus were facing backwards, staring at him. Why didn't she tell them to turn around? Some birthday, he thought. The yellow bus rumbled through a tumble-down section of town, an industrial no-man's land of railroad tracks, warehouses, and empty factories with broken windows and rusted steel roofs. The bus didn't stop here because no kids lived here. The sound of the tires changed to a high-pitched hum as the bus crossed a tall bridge that soared over a rail yard and a narrow river. Alex turned to look out the window. From the highest point of the bridge, he could see over the rooftops of Jersey City, all the way to the tall towers of the Manhattan skyline, poking up like teeth of a comb in the distance. Alex loved the view, and he loved thinking about his dad somewhere out there under the Hudson River, driving his PATH train to the World Trade Center. The bus descended the other side of the bridge. Manhattan disappeared for good. Yo, A-Dog, check it out. It was Quan behind him. Alex glanced up to see Mary Jo was looking, but her eyes were on the traffic. The brakes squealed as she pulled over to pick up more kids. Alex turned sideways in his seat. Quan held up his Game Boy. I broke 8 million. Dude, Alex and Quan slid palms in an elaborate high five. Up, down, side to side, then a bump to finish. Maybe, Mayday, Mayday. Bogey's at 12. Doug interrupted under his breath. Alex turned and came face to face with the sneering mug of Calvin Butts. Calvin Butts was one of Jordan McGreevy's two goons. All three were a grade ahead of Alex. Calvin jerked his head, and the boy in front of Alex's scrambled to a different row. Calvin slammed his square, heavy body into the seat and stared hard at Alex. A second kid threw himself into the seat beside Calvin, took one look at Alex, and let out a creepy laugh. He laughed backwards, exhaling in a raspy pant, and then making long, wheezy, squeaky yelps while he inhaled. This was Deemer. If he had a second name, nobody knew it. Deemer never said anything. He just wore a sick, pasted-on grin all the time like some kind of crazy clown. But they didn't worry Alex. The real trouble was coming down the aisle. Jordan McGreevy. Unlike Calvin and Deemer, who advertised their weirdness from 100 yards away, Jordan kept his face so empty that the emptiness alone was menacing. With Calvin and Deemer, you knew what was coming, but Jordan's meanness would sneak up on you. That made him 100 times more dangerous. As Jordan made his way to the rear of the bus, kids shrank back in their seats, hoping he'd pass over this day. He worked his way steadily down the aisle, never once looking at Alex. But somehow, Alex knew Jordan was coming for him. Alex forced himself to stare out the window, knowing not to make eye contact. He didn't have to look up to sense that Jordan was there. Armpit and Cheetos, he'd know that smell anywhere. But to Alex's complete surprise, Jordan kept going, right past Alex's row. Alex exhaled. He hadn't realized he'd been holding his breath. Anyone sitting here? Jordan was right beside him. Without waiting for an answer, Jordan started to flop down on the empty seat. Alex barely managed to snatch the box of cupcakes off the seat and onto his lap. Jordan pointed at the bakery box. Birthday? His voice was even, almost friendly. Alex nodded, but he wasn't fooled. Jordan lifted up the corner of the box and peered inside. Bake 'em yourself? My mom. My mom can't even cook toast. He made this sound like it was Alex's fault. Alex slid the cupcakes over to his right, away from Jordan, next to the bus wall. You better leave them alone. Behind him, he heard Quan gasp. No one told Jordan what to do. Jordan looked right at Alex. I'm not going to touch 'em, swear. Alex clenched his jaw, smart enough not to lower his guard. Jordan turned back and continued to stare right ahead with that same blank expression. They rode in silence, and the hum of the bus the only noise. Up ahead, the road curved to the left. Mary Jo steered the bus into the turn. As the centrifugal force pushed them sideways, Jordan slid across the seat and slammed hard into Alex, ramming him into the side of the bus and smashing the cupcakes into the wall. It happened so fast that Alex hadn't seen it coming. Calvin and Deemer were laughing, beside themselves. Don't cry, crybaby, Deemer hissed. Jordan continued to stare straight ahead, as if there was nothing going on. As the bus came out of the turn, Jordan didn't let up. Alex could feel Jordan's hips flex as he pressed his feet onto the floor, shoving his body harder and harder against Alex's, mashing him against the side of the bus. Alex tried to push back, but he had no leverage. Pinned and powerless, with Jordan pressing into him with all of his might, Alex found it hard to breathe. Even if he could have filled his lungs, he wouldn't have a word to his bus driver. If he tried to get Jordan in trouble, Jordan would wiggle out of it, claiming it was an accident. That was Jordan's genius. He never got caught. Even now, as Mary Jo glanced back, all she saw above the seats was Jordan sitting quietly, staring calmly ahead. And all Alex could do was sit there and take it. He knew they couldn't be that far from school, but the rest of the ride seemed to take forever. Alex tried making deals with the universe the way he usually did. If I hold my breath to the count of 30, he'll get bored and stop. If I close my eyes for 3 more blocks, he'll let up. Jordan never let up, even as he was telling dirty jokes to Calvin. Deemer kept up a singing taunt. Cry baby, stick your head in pie, baby. Alex clamped his eyes closed, trying to shut them out. He was in the middle of one of his deals, counting to 45 this time. When the bus stopped hard for a red light, Alex opened his eyes, hoping to see their school out of the window. He saw nothing better. He saw something better, a dog. A muddy stray, nosing through a pile of trash next to an abandoned gas station. He wasn't much to look at, but the mere sight of him made Alex's heart lift. Alex had imagined getting a dog for as long as he could remember. He thought up 100 different names and pictured himself with every possible breed. Up to them, his dream of getting a dog had always seemed just that, a dream. But as he stared at the stray, something lit up inside of him. The dog had cornered a sock and was playing a game with himself, picking it up and flinging it across the ground, only to chase it down again. He was everything Alex had ever wished for, fun and feisty and full of mischief. Alex knew with a certainty he couldn't explain that this dog was the one. Then the dog looked up, right at Alex. They locked eyes. The dog stared at him, head cocked to one side. Alex stared right back. Hey, boy, Alex whispered. The dog's ears twitched. He heard me, Alex thought. The light changed and the bus started to move. Alex held the dog's gaze as the bus gained speed, and then the dog took off in a hot pursuit. Alex twisted his neck around. "Go, boy," he whispered. Miraculously, the dog started to gain on them. He was only half a block back when suddenly the bus turned a corner and the dog disappeared. Alex's stomach dropped. He stared back, searching. Then the dog bolted out from an alley right behind them. He found a shortcut. Alex couldn't believe how smart the dog was. The dog raced down the sidewalk after the bus. He was actually gaining on them. And then the bus zoomed across a busy intersection, 4 lanes each way, 16 lanes of traffic at rush hour. A death zone. "Stay!" Alex shouted. Jordan turned toward him sharply. Alex didn't notice. All he cared about was this. The dog stopped with one foot in the street, then pulled back into the curb and sat down, staring after the bus. "Good boy," Alex murmured under his breath, sad but relieved. He stared back until he couldn't see the dog anymore. The bus finally pulled to a stop in front of Alex's school. The brakes hissed as Mary Jo turned off the engine and swung open the door. Jordan stayed seated, still leaning into Alex, until the rows in front of them had emptied. At last, he eased off and yanked himself into the aisle. His eyes lingered over the crushed bakery box, cake and icing oozing out of the seams. Then they flicked back to Alex. "Happy birthday," he said. Wow. So there was 2 chapters. We're really getting into it. And we'll find out in chapter 5 and 6 whether he ends up with that fabulous dog that he just locked eyes with. Until then.